Hello, my gorgeous keto friends. I'm RJ. Welcome to Keto Over 50. I have such a special video for you today. The best content you'll see in a long time, no matter what channel you're watching. I read recently that 30% of Americans can't cook. We're going to make soup today. We're going to make soup, and I'm telling you, this is not just a meal, but it is a life skill that will sustain you and your family, especially in hard times, because you can throw a bunch of stuff together in a pot and have the most welcoming, wonderful, hearty meal you could ever imagine. And it's so easy. You basically just throw in everything. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. So if you like this content, like and subscribe for more amazing tips, resources, and recipes. All you really need to make a great soup is a big stock pot, which you can get anywhere. They're very cheap. But what I have is this incredible crock pot, which if you ever find one like this, snag it seriously in a garage sale, or if you can find it online. This one, it's a Hamilton Beach. But what I love about it is it's got an aluminum pan that you can put right on your cooktop. And then when everything is seared and brown, you just drop it in the pot. So I'm going to plug that in and get it going so it can get nice and hot. And the odds of me burning my hands on this at some point today, probably pretty good. All right, so I've got and I need pot holders for this too, because it's going to get hot. And what I start with is some onions, chopped onions. I'm going to make, you want to know what kind of soup I'm going to make, right? I'm going to make like a deconstructed cabbage roll soup. But I went to the store yesterday, so I picked up some more vegetables, and I'm going to throw them in because that's all it takes. And I have, let me go over what you need. I have 2 pounds of ground beef here because when I make soup, I love to make it and then freeze it. And then one day when it's cold or windy and you're not having a good day and you just want some love in a bowl, you've got soup in the freezer, you just thaw it out and you've got a great pot of soup. So I've got 2 pounds of ground beef. If you watched my last video, I dissected some rotisserie chickens from Costco. So I've got the carcass here. I have chicken stock, better than bouillon beef stock. So we'll put him over here with his cousins. I'm going to use salt and pepper, a little garlic powder. I'm not going to crush fresh garlic for this. I have some ginger. I used to make Swedish meatballs and cabbage rolls with a mix of ginger ale and ketchup. And I've tried it with the sugar-free ginger ale. It's not good. And then I have some Tony's, which I put in just about everything. It just adds a little bit of kick. So I have Tony's ginger, garlic powder, salt, pepper, bouillon. This is a can of crushed tomatoes. I diced up some carrots, well, circles of carrots, and some radishes, which if you've been on keto for long, you know that radishes are a great substitute for potatoes, and there's no potatoes in cabbage rolls. Speaking of vegetables, I also bought a turnip, and I diced that up. So those are going in here. My big bowl of chopped cabbage, because you got to have cabbage in cabbage soup. And I had some leftover bacon. Why wouldn't I put that in the soup, right? So I might cut this just a little bit. But this way we'll have some extra flavor. And again, bacon is not in cabbage rolls. But when you're making soup, it's great for getting rid of leftovers. I cut the bacon into little, like 1-inch squares, and they're in here. And I'll show you. They're just searing on the stove. Again, one reason why I absolutely love this crock pot. And I'm going to go ahead and toss in the onions so that they can get caramelized. It's very easy to cook when you have everything prepared and chopped for you. You need a good sous chef. I was my own sous chef last night, getting everything ready for you today. Now that the bacon has a little bit of a head start, it's not quite crispy, I'm going to throw in the ground beef and let this get ground. It's 2 different kinds, but that shouldn't make a difference at all. I just need to break it up. Seriously, soup is the easiest thing you could ever make because there's no rules. Everyone asks me, what's your recipe for this? I don't really have one. I could write down the ingredients for you and you can take a look at that, which I will do. I'll put them down in the description below. But it's the quantities, it's not like baking. In fact, I remember Bobby Flay saying he doesn't like baking as much as cooking because with baking, you have to be very precise with your salt, your baking soda, baking powder. Every ingredient you use in baking is very precise, and you can't fudge on those on baking cakes or cookies. But when you're making soup or chili or a casserole, sounds good, throw it in. Hey, I forgot to mention brown sugar because when I make cabbage rolls, I use a little bit of brown sugar in the sauce with the ginger ale and tomatoes. And it gives the cabbage roll such a nice flavor. So this is just a little tip that if you're ever making spaghetti sauce or even using bottled sauce or something like this soup, I'm just going to put a dash, probably about a tablespoon of this is monk fruit sweetener with allulose. It's an alternative sweetener and it doesn't spike your glycemic index. So it's just perfect for keto. These are organic, and I always get the low sodium chicken stock. While the meat is cooking, and you can see it's just starting to brown a little bit there, I'm going to season the meat. I've always found that seasoning the meat directly and then you add your stock and your tomatoes and your other ingredients. And what that does is then it goes from the meat into the broth. And it's so fantastic. Like I said, you don't even need to know how to cook to throw together a pot of soup. It's one of the easiest things you'll ever do. And I'll show you right here. What's that? Not quite a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon. It's very powdery. So just a little bit, maybe a little more. A lot came out that time. And then some Tony's, just a little bit of this. This might make me sneeze and gasp. And pot holder. And we're going to mix that into the meat, the bacon, the onions. They're all in there just sizzling. So it's been about 10 minutes, and you can see the bacon isn't exactly crispy. It's not going to be like this unless I had cooked it up ahead of time first. But I've got the ground beef. It's all brown. I didn't add the rotisserie chicken just yet because it's already cooked. So I'm going to throw that in when I throw in the cabbage. So that was actually the hard part of this incredible recipe. Anytime you're making soup, you just want to brown the protein, the beef or whatever you're putting in here. So you really can't make a mistake with this. This is why it's great. You just need to plan ahead because it's going to take about 6 hours on high in the crock pot, 5 or 6 hours. Okay, so now I'm going to add the cut up turnip, which they're relatively low carb. They have a lot of fiber, which helps a lot. I'm sorry these aren't in pretty bowls, but this is what I did last night. I was tired. So I just put them in baggies, which works, right? And then I'm going to add the tomatoes. Okay, and we add that to it. You want to see? It's all just in there, getting mixed together. And now it's time for some stock. I don't know if I'm going to use both of these. So we're going to take this base. And I'm laughing because I opened the jar before I started recording. I'm just going to put in about a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more. And I do most of these by feel. And this is the good news. The more you get used to doing this, the easier it becomes. You'll know if it tastes like there's too much in here. Next time, use less. You're not going to ruin anything. You can always add more water. The only big mistake is adding too much salt. Then you have to add a little more of everything else to equalize the salt. So I'm going to stir that up, and I am going to put, let me do this, a little bit of the brown sugar. like I said, if I can get in there, like I said, if I make spaghetti sauce, anything with tomatoes in the base, it always, see, this is what, a half a teaspoon, I think. And I'm going to add a full one. So 2 of these little ones that come with this. And it's just one of those flavors that you can add that just makes such a big difference. This is 1 head of cabbage, and it will cook down and become translucent. Great for you on a ketogenic diet because it has that much fiber. And then I'm going to add the rotisserie chicken and let it all sit for and steep in the crock pot for 5 or 6 hours. And you won't believe what this will make. And I will end up with at least 3 or 4 containers to put in the freezer. And I'll probably have this for dinner tonight. So this just doesn't get easier. Here we go. We're going to turn this off, put it in the crock pot, and put the lid on it. It's set for 6 hours. That's it. Stir it a little bit, and then I'll add the rotisserie chicken probably when it has about 2 more hours to go. Just check your keto list of what the lowest carb, highest fiber vegetables are and throw them in there. Whatever you're making, this is going to be less like a deconstructed cabbage roll and more like a beef vegetable soup. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to share it with you. Now I have to wait 6 hours, but you only have to wait a minute. Welcome back. It's been about a week since I made soup. And by the time I got everything packaged up, it was too late to finish the video. So here we are, 3 of these containers from that crock pot of soup. And I put them in the freezer. This one I just thawed out today so I could show you. And I have this beautiful bowl of soup with deconstructed cabbage roll. It's got ground beef, it's got cabbage, a few carrots, some turnips, onions, things that are all keto friendly, and 1 can of crushed tomatoes, as you may remember. So I'm excited to show you how I serve this, one of the variations that I do. First of all, we have 0 net carb tortillas. They're 7 carbs and 7 grams of fiber. And these are chipotle. And what I decided to do with this soup, even though it's cabbage roll, was to make it more Mexican, more taco seasoning, more Southwestern. So I have these chipotle tortillas, and all you have to do is just cut them like in pizza slices, triangles, and pop them in your air fryer. And you have chips, and you can put the chips on top of the soup. So I did that. I only have 5 triangles now because 1 hit the deck. Okay, so I've got my soup, I've got my little Crispies, and this is bitchin' sauce. I don't know if you've ever tried it or not. It comes in a bunch of flavors, but their main flavor is chipotle. And that is such a nice, spicy, not too hot flavor. It's made with almonds. It's very different, and it's only 2 carbs, and 1 of those is fiber. So I put a little bit of bitchin' sauce in the soup. Like I said, you're only limited by your own creativity. So if you think something might be good, make a little bowl and try it that way. So now I have creamy cabbage ground beef soup. The nice thing is you can call these soups anything you want to call them. It can be like RJ's Special. So if you have company and you need to name your products, your dishes. And then what I like to do is add a little bit of sour cream, especially if the soup is really hot or if you made it very, very spicy. You can add shredded cheddar cheese. Really, like, you're only limited by your own creativity. You can just add whatever you want, whatever you think sounds good. I still have sour cream all over me. So this is what I do, and I would serve it this way with a little bit of sour cream on the side. I mixed in the bitchin' sauce, and I can put some chips like this. And one of the nice things about being able to add chips is that If you are like me and you have soup or you have salad for lunch, you always feel like you're being cheated, that you want something else. You want a little bit of bread. You want something else to sink your teeth into. And these chips do that. And for zero carbs, it's fantastic. So I am excited to hear what you end up doing with soup. Let me know. You can put almost anything, if it's keto approved, low carb vegetables. You could do broccoli and cheddar, asparagus, all the vegetables that you can put in and make your own soup. See how it goes. Give it a shot. Throw some chips in there and away you go. Stay beautiful. We're working on it, aren't we?